Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are continuing our top 100 games of all time. We are even further into the top 50, this segment being 40 through 31. And this is kind of a mishmash of different movements for me. I think I have one new one that stayed the same, 4 fell, 3 rose.
This
5
is going to
fell,
be
3 rose, sorry.
no, you're good. This is going to be the start where you're going to start seeing a lot of rising. These next several tens. This one being the first kind of, because I have 3 that fell. 1 is new into the list, and then the other 6 went up. So
Good deal.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, well, wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and get started with my number 40, which was number 18 last year, fell 22 spots, but it was number 47 in 2020, which is actually weird because I have played this game recently, and I think it's something that you've already mentioned, but I tend to like these games. Well, hold on. Okay, yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is my number 40. Let me just double check. 40. Yes, okay. Because I felt like I had talked about it earlier, but I remember we went like back and forth on this genre like multiple times. But this is where this game landed, and it is...
Yes.
Okay, I was like, where is it? Chronicles of Crime. Yeah, actually, so I went out with my wife on like a small like vacation, and this was one of the games that I brought, and I mean it's just great. Like they have so many different cases for so many different themes that I think at the end of the day, I remember I used to kind of have this and the Portal Detective Modern Crime board game kind of like neck and neck.
Right.
Because they kind of came out around the same time. This one used an app, Detective used a website. And I was like, I wasn't sure which one I liked better. But as time has gone on, Lucky Duck has just made this one better. I feel like Portal kind of lost its way a little bit with some of its expansions. And this one, they only got better. Like you have your Stranger Things kind of cases. You have your noir, future, super in the past. It's like they just are knocking it out of the park. Pretty sure they're done with this. I think they're moving on with like Destinies and Dark Quarter, but I think that's fine. There's quite a bit here, but you never know. I mean, they might run out of money with like Destinies and stuff, and they're like, oh shit.
I wouldn't be surprised if they come up with some stuff just for the app too. Instead of putting out new components.
No, exactly. And that's the amazing thing about this game is they've produced so much physical stuff that they could just upload a bunch of different cases. So only time will tell, but that is my number 40.
Good choice. All right. Well, my number 40 is an oldie. It's been on my list, I think, since we started doing this. It was 74 last year, but it was 43 the year before that. It's one of those that just rises and falls as it gets played. Because it was 77 the year before that, so it's like went from the 70s to 40s to 70s to 40. So this is back.
Okay.
And this is, I don't even remember what year it came out, but this is my one you make fun of me of because I don't like Pandemic. But then this has the main mechanism of Pandemic in it, and that is Defenders. This is just one of those classic, the classic fantasy. It has the old school art. And they have so many different heroes with it. If you have all the hero expansions, they have all the beasties and all that different stuff. You can add. There's just tons of stuff out for this, and I was kind of sad when they decided they were gonna drop their second edition that they were doing because I think they went with the Freedom 5 and decided to go that direction a lot more.
Yeah.
But this is just one of those games that you pick your heroes. And it's almost it's kind of a weird like tower defense kind of thing. They are going to be generals of different factions that are going to be working their way slowly towards the Monarch City. They're in the middle, and you are kind of bouncing around, wiping out minions, doing different little quests and all this different stuff. And it comes down to the end when you're trying to defeat because you're gaining cards so that when you take on the general, you have more dice to roll to try to get the
Hmm.
amount you need to get. Um, and like I said, the board art is not great. I like the card art. I like the Larry Elmore art on that. The board is kind of weird. But this is just one of those kind of classics that will probably always be around here just because I like the fantasy. It came out in 2010. I would have guessed earlier than that, but
I mean,
but
it looks like it came out in the 80s and it plays like it came out in the
well,
80s.
and it makes sense with Larry Elmore, the old
Yeah.
D&D guy. I mean, that's the old school Dungeons and Dragons artist and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's just one of those, that I wish they would have come out with the new edition to kind of
I
maybe
mean, never say
update stuff.
never.
But yeah, I
Like
mean,
Tales of Arabian Nights is finally doing their, Arthurian Legend one. So it's like when Freedom 5 flops, they might try and do this.
man, I hope it doesn't flop.
Oh, same. That was quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, who knows? And so it's actually interesting. I just drew this parallel. If you like the way this game plays, I think you would actually really like Fall of Rome.
Okay.
I specifically didn't say Pandemic because it's Pandemic Fall of Rome, but it's the one that's furthest from the
Mm,
Pandemic formula, but it's kind of tower defense. You have three different types of cubes moving towards the main city, and you have units that go out and fight them.
gotcha.
So I think it's not quite like this, but when you mention tower defense, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess Fall of Rome is kind of like that. Uh,
Yeah.
so we'll have to give
Yeah.
that a
I'll give
shot
it a
because
try
I like
sometime.
that one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep.
this one's a good one. This one's fun. Like I don't own it anymore, but I'd play it if anyone was asking me to.
Yeah. And we tried, I think when you and I played, we played the Dragon
Yeah,
expansion.
it was me, you. I think it was me, you, and Kat, and we
Yeah.
and we like tried it on the hardest difficulty,
Yeah. It
and
was
it's like
stupid.
two full rounds, and we're like, okay, we lost.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, the Dragon expansion is pretty rough, but I mean, playing it
Hmm.
with the original stuff is good and fun, good and challenging.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, this is just one. Like I said, this one is going to fluctuate depending on if I've played it or not because it's been in my
hmm.
collection forever. It kind of goes back and forth. So
Sure.
that's my number 40.
All right, good deal. My number 39 rose quite a bunch, quite a bit actually. It was number 60 last year. So it rose 21 spots. And what's weird is I haven't played this game in quite some time, but I think as I was comparing it more and more to a bunch of games, I just kept remembering how great it is. And I've actually had an itch to play this game recently, so I'm gonna try and get it done. And just got a sweet wooden insert for it, so it all fits in the main box, and that is a feast for Odin.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of Uwe Rosenberg games. I know originally I don't think he started out as like the polyomino guy, but he is now.
No, he
Like
wasn't.
that's who he is. And as time has gone on, polyominoes have just been a mechanism that I just enjoy. I just like that spatial awareness and that puzzly nature of trying to get things to fit in a certain order. And oh boy, this is definitely one that it's so funny because this has a negative stigma to it because everyone's like, oh, all the spaces. And yeah, that exists, but I really think that people, ow, I hit my mic, that if people went in with like not that negative mindset and was like, you know what, I just teach me the game, I think a lot more people would get into it because it's really not that bad. Yes, there's a lot of worker placement spots. I actually prefer that. I love my games to have a different experience every time I play a game, and this definitely has that. Polyomino games, I do kind of feel can run by the wayside of just having the same thing you do every time. But yeah, this one just flows extremely well. I like the fact that you actually start out in the hole, like you're like, oh, I'm
Right.
super negative, but as you cover up more spots with different polyomino pieces, you eventually build your way out of that. It's
Yeah.
extremely solid. Like I haven't played a lot of his games, and it's kind of like if I really like this one, I don't have a whole like the real need to go out and play any of his other ones. Uh, But yeah, like there's not a whole lot more. When did this game come out?
Uh,
Like
I would guess like 17 or 18, maybe
close 16,
16. Okay.
2016. Yeah. Um,
This was my
yeah,
52.
that's right. Okay, I remember
Yeah.
you had already talked about it. Yeah, it's I mean, man, yeah, it's just extremely solid. I do have the expansion as well, the Norwegians, uh, but
I don't,
I haven't played it.
yeah,
So this
either.
is just going off base game. Yeah, it's very, very good. So if you're willing to give a give a meaty worker placement polyomino game a shot, that's definitely one I'd recommend.
I just nabbed his new one, the Atiwa with
Oh, that's right.
the
Yeah,
bats.
I know nothing about that game.
Well, it's the premise of it is you're trying to reforest, uh, cut down forests, so it's got bats. So like you're feeding the bats fruit from the
Okay.
trees. They're shitting. You use their
Okay.
shit to plant and grow trees. And it's like
Okay.
you're trying to reforest areas with bat shit,
Oh,
more
that's
or less.
nice.
It's kind
That's
of a neat
interesting.
little unique theme.
Is that real? Is that like
Yeah,
based on an
yeah.
actual thing that okay.
On the back it has a bunch of facts and stuff saying
Oh,
that,
cool.
yeah,
He just weirdly made it up, did a whole bunch of mushrooms and like made this game. Well,
no, I'm
that's
gonna
pretty
give it a shot,
cool.
see what it's like. It
Yeah.
looks pretty neat.
We'll have to give that a shot.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 39 is another one that's been on my list for a long time. This is the lowest it's ever been. Um, this one, it was 30 last year, but it was a top 20 game for several years prior to that. It's an out of print game. It's one of my favorite competitive card games that FFG used to have, and that is Blood Bowl Team Manager. This one is it's a fun ass game. Just it's one you don't take very seriously, just because there is the randomness. There's the randomness of the dice when you're tackling. There's the randomness of the seeding tokens or what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, you pick your race or your team, and then you are going to battle them through like 5 weeks of games, trying to get them ready for the Blood Bowl, the big one at the end. The winner is the team that has the most fans, which are the victory points at the end. And you are just almost like smash up style in a way. There's the highlights in the middle, and you're playing cards on those middle things, trying to have the most power there. So it's more or less loosely like smash up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's ball movement, so like that ball will move back and forth and adds points. You win those highlights, and you can upgrade your positions by getting players that you can take out of your league and add them to your deck. And you have to get rid of a card because you only have a certain size deck you can have. And you just go through and play all that. There's a bunch of there's two main expansions that just add more teams and a couple of mechanisms and stuff. And it's just a fun one. I made a custom play mat for it that sets everything. It looks like a football field that has everything
Oh
out,
yeah.
play on it and everything. And it's just one that'll never be made again, at least by Fantasy Flight, since
Yeah, I
the
was about to
Games
say,
Workshop broke up. But
I'm like, I bet you this one would actually do pretty well on Kickstarter.
yeah,
Like,
and they could bring it back. I mean, it's Game Workshop's stuff,
do
and
they
I
even
don't know.
make anything anymore? Like Games Workshop?
Oh yeah, they
Or
still
did
do
they?
they still
I
do all
was
the miniature wargaming and stuff. They don't still do.
okay. They just don't do like board games or anything.
Well, and they do, like, so you'll see those ones every now and again that pop out. That's like it's like a board game with a bunch of miniatures in it you put together.
Gotcha.
It's really like $150 games that you do stuff with and everything. But
That's a shame.
yeah,
I
but
wonder, man, I did a video like when that happened, like the Games Workshop Fantasy Flight, and God, I bet you that video was awful because uh, like I don't even remember what. I think I just kind of talked about like all the games that Fantasy Flight was losing. Um, but man, I wish I was more invested to do stuff like that. Like that kind of because the board game industry doesn't really have a whole lot of breaking news stuff.
do like current events or something like that.
Yeah, like I've always been because I was doing like a thing called like interesting topics and it was gonna be about that kind of stuff. But then as I kept watching, I'm like, well, there's not really a whole lot that actually happens. Yeah, I mean, we have major things like the current one is the Subterra 2 company basically went under. And
really?
it's just there was like the side publisher of that company is like, hey, just so you guys know, they haven't really contacted us either, trying to alleviate it. There's stuff like that, but I'm like, I don't know. This one with the Games Workshop and Fantasy Flight, that was like a big one
Yeah.
because there were so many games that I think that's probably the beginning of Fantasy Flight losing a lot of their catalog. So they
Well,
just went
a lot
all
of the
in on the
Warhammer stuff. Yeah. I mean, they had quite a few Warhammer
right.
games
So
under their belt,
yeah.
but
But
yeah.
yeah, anyway, that was just kind of a side thing because I remember the Games Workshop Fantasy Flight thing years ago.
Mhm.
This one I do want to try again. Like we did do a video on it, but that's what like multiple people commented on like what seemed to me major rules mistakes that we had made.
Mhm.
And normally I just kind of let it slide. Like I get people commenting on Dicer and stuff like, oh, why didn't you roll defense? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I fucking forgot. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But this one seemed to be quite significant that it was enough for me to be like, okay, I'll take it down and we'll just redo it.
Well, I'd
So I
like
went.
to know what the mistake was, because I mean,
I should have sent those to you, but I was just like, man, this is a lot. You know what? I'll just remove it and we'll just redo it at some
yeah,
point.
yeah,
So yeah, and I'll play the team that cheats. That's clearly the best team out there. You
maybe.
could be whoever. You can be. I don't
I,
care. It won't
I've won the
matter.
most with the humans, but the chaos
The chaos team.
man is the one that gets cheat tokens like crazy.
Yeah. All right. My number 38 actually stayed the same. Oh wait, shit. Did it stay the same? Oh no, I lied. No, okay, yeah, I just mistyped. Yes, so 38. Yeah, stayed the same. So last year it was 38 and it was new last year. And this game actually did get some support. It got one expansion so far. And I hope Pandasaurus continues to support it because I think this is a phenomenal co-op game. Brutally hard in the sense of it is kind of random, but it's that mitigated randomness that is like you can plan for it. And that is to me what makes oh shit.
Sure.
Nope. That makes sense. Yep, not this. My third. Good thing I didn't say the game. I totally skipped one because I was clicking on it. I did not mistype. Yeah, mitigated randomness about magic. Yeah, sorry. My number 28, 38. I've had like a fourth of this, and I'm already going crazy. Anyway, this
Yeah.
fell. It was 26. Fell 12 spots, and in 2020 it was number 13. This is my second favorite Mind Clash game, Dracarion. This is still a phenomenal game. Like, I think that like between this and like Anachrony, it's just like if you need anything for Mind Clash, it's these two. I think that this is such a fun, wonderful thematic game. There's a lot going on, but you're playing as stage magicians, so you're not actually like a wizard or anything. You're think of the Prestige or the Illusionist, and that's what you're doing. And it's a programming game where your various workers is like during a certain phase you set up where they're going to go, and you're trying to read where your opponents might go because your workers have like action points to them and where you go. So like in that middle board, there's like the +2, +1, +1, +0. The first one to go there gets the most actions. So if you send yourself as a magician, he gets like, I think he gets +3. Yeah. So if you went there, you get 5 actions to do at that location. But if someone is going before you, then you lose out. You're gathering equipment that you need for your performance, and then you're slotting those into performance slots throughout various days. And it's whoever gets the most fans. It does that thing where kind of your victory point track is like the seats you're filling up, which I think is really cool. It's fantastic. Like I think this is such a cool game. So many different schools of magic you could do. And tons of expansions for it. Like I have the collector's edition, so it's all organized very nice in a game trays thing, which was a kind of actually trash to organize because they're like, they'll figure it out. It's game trays. It's so obvious where everything goes. But like this particular board is the Academy, and you can like, I think one side of the board, I've played this once. One side of the board is where you can actually go out and teach. and then the other side I think is where you like can sell your tricks to be taught. If I'm remembering that right. But yeah, it's this whole other thing. So yeah. Well, that took me by surprise. I'll talk about my actual game I wanted to talk about next time. But yeah, if you're, I mean, it's kind of like both this one and Anacron, I think, are equally complex. So it's kind of like pick your theme. Do you like this type of older school stage magic, or do you like, time traveling and sci-fi? Both of them play completely different, but I have them both in my collection, and they're wonderful. So that's my number 38, Tricarion.
All right. Well, my number 38 is another game that's been out for quite a while. And it's kind of hovered like in the 70s or 80s over the last few years, but I've actually played it quite a bit more this last year. And it's just still such a great game, and that is Viticulture Essential Edition. This was one I finally showed my wife. I'd played it solo a lot, and then I finally played it multiplayer more this last year, and it's a really good one. I mean, just you wouldn't think that the theme of this would be that intriguing or whatever, but the mechanisms are slick. It's well put together. There's a lot of decisions to make because the whole seasons and knowing when to jump to the next season, and hold back your workers to make those decisions, because you don't want to bust your nut too early so that you're leaving good spaces for your opponents later on. It's just a good one. I mean, and I mainly play it mainly just the Essential Edition box. I haven't really messed with the Tuscany stuff a whole lot yet, so I know that there's a ton of stuff in that as well.
Do you only play the 2 seasons?
Oh, never mind. I use Tuscany because I play all 4 seasons. So
okay,
that's I use the board for Tuscany then. Like there's modules, and I don't use a lot of it. So yeah, I use the board.
There's the Monpaw for like the unique setup.
Yeah. No, this is what the board looks like when I play with it. So yeah.
Okay. I'm like, oh man,
I forgot about that.
Out. I know, because it's like so essential that you use all 4 seasons that it's like you don't even think about it.
Well, and I have an organizer that puts it all in the Essential Edition box. So I
want the wine crate, just to have it. That's just super nice. And then this one fell quite a bit for me. Let me see if I can even tell you. It was in my top 100 last year. Quite high, actually, roughly in the same. It was like 44, and it fell completely out. I still own it. I will probably always own it. But last time I played it, the randomness of those cards just burned me more than I would have liked as my tastes have kind of progressed. But still super good. Like it's still an excellent worker placement game.
Yeah, and the solo is fun with it too. And then the Viticulture World is a neat little solo thing too, cooperative thing. So it's just gotten to the table more this year, and it just keeps on going. It's a good one for sure. Kind of one of those evergreens for them.
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting because I think at the time I was like, between the wine games, I'd play this or Vinos, but I actually just got rid of all my Vita Sarda games, and I haven't got rid of this. So it's just kind of like, I think through ease of play, this is still going to give me that same feeling, and I just kind of have to now prep myself mentally going in and be like, it's just going to be random, like at least the cards are. But that Tuscany expansion is a must, and I think you can buy it. I think you can buy it now with like a majority of the Tuscany stuff with Viticulture. I don't think you have to buy them separate anymore.
Right.
But I could be wrong.
Yep. It's a good one though.
All right. Man, we are just killing it on great games, except your Blood Bowl, whatever that was. No one can even get that anymore. Hey, my 37, you might have heard, is a cooperative game.
Are you positive?
Well, based off my notes here, it's in the same spot as my 37, so I didn't mistype. And yeah, it's random and has gotten an expansion, but it's that mitigated randomness that I was telling you about. So it's called The Loop,
That
which
makes
is actually really funny because this is all about like time travel and the loop that you just kind of, and so now we're in the exact same time where I was saying this. Like, God, could you imagine if it pulled up Tricarion again? I'd be
that'd be
like, I don't
funny.
know what's happening. Anyway, yeah, the loop, this was kind of one I don't even really recall me like I think this was kickstarted and I just kind of picked it up at Gen Con. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot, and really just kind of fell in love with it. The point is you have different missions. You have like this overall mission that's kind of going to change like your overall objective, but then you have various missions throughout the board that you have to complete a certain number to win the game. And that entire time you have different paradoxes of Dr. Foe, and he's basically trying to go to these different instances in time to create these paradoxes, and you have to stop them. It has that little 3-pronged cube tower, so that's where you will drop those red cubes, and each location can hold a certain number before it actually breaks, and then it actually wipes the mission out, and only a certain number of missions can be like broken before you lose the game. This does a really cool system where you have, it's kind of a small deck builder, so you have various cards that have icons on them, and you can tap them and use them all and be like, okay, cool, I did these cards. However, if you're in a location with these green cubes, you can spend a certain number of them to choose an icon and untap all those cards that have that icon on it. So it kind of rewards like going in the same like type of card instead of diversity, but obviously having diversity lets you do a lot more. So it's like if you want to be the one popping and doing a bunch of like redos, then you can just constantly do your turn. And as long as there's green cubes in that spot, like I think it costs like 1 to redo it, but then it costs 2, then 3, and it just becomes more and more expensive to, reset the timeline to do your turn over and over again. It's just a really cool thematic game. Like there's a bunch of missions, and what they do in this, I think, fits here more than a lot of other games. Is they have like achievements, so like a video game where it's just like, oh, beat this game or beat this mission on the hardest difficulty, and you check that off and stuff. It doesn't really give you anything, but I think it's just kind of neat in here. This game is very difficult, which I prefer my co-op games to be very hard. Otherwise, kind of what's the point? You work together and you're like, okay, we won. Well, we won. I guess that's this game. So yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised that it stayed this high at this same spot, but they did release an expansion, added a few more characters, a few more missions, and here's hoping they make more.
This
So,
is
yeah.
one I've never tried that I've thought about sometime.
I mean, like I said, I think it's great. I mean, even if you were going to play it solo and run it two-handed, that would be very easy to do.
Sure.
And like the equipment cards and stuff that you get for your deck are really neat. And there's like you can kind of barely see it, but that stack of cards in the back, some icons or some cards don't have any icons because they're like black hole cards and they can never be untapped. But they're like super powerful. And yeah, every character has a unique ability. It's just really cool. This also promotes kind of like team synergy of being like, okay, what can you do on your turn? What can I do? And then let's kind of like hop back and forth between, how we're gonna handle the spreading of these red cubes as well as these paradox tokens. It's really neat. Yeah, I enjoy this one quite a bit. So that's my 37.
Awesome. My number 37, I think you've talked about already in this top 100. It was 52 last year, and it was 30 before that and 12 before that. So it's kind of went down and then starting to climb back up a little bit, mainly because I've played it a lot over the last 6, 7 months, with different groups around here, because it's one of those games that is one of those rare games you can play and the game takes the same amount of time with 7 players as it does with 3 players, and that is Seven Wonders.
Yes,
This
I
is
have talked about this.
okay. I figured you had. I figured it was probably in the 70s or 60s or something like that.
No, it was actually, I think, in the 50s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was 62. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So, but this is kind of like that in my mind, kind of the granddaddy of drafting games. Where it's that's what this game is. You pick a card, you play the card, and you pass it. It's just, and you're trying to do set collection and you're trying to do all these different things, but yeah, you can use cards for not for the ability, but just turn it face down and build part of your wonder. There's just all different kinds of things you can do with this, and a lot of decisions. There's different drafting things that you may want to approach, whether you don't want your neighbor have that one or whatever. Another thing that I like about this, and I know this is something that drafting games do nowadays too, but the thing I like about this is a lot of the early games that use kind of this mechanic you just continually keep going in the same direction. And this one, round one, you pass to the right or left, and then you pass to the right the next round, and the third one you pass back to the left. So it gives everybody a chance to get those cards if somebody's stealing all the science and you're not getting a chance for it, or vice versa. The expansions are awesome for this, the leaders and with the city expansion and all that stuff. The later ones were kind of the Babylon one was kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, Babel was just a little much.
Yeah.
I mean, and it kind of makes sense because they did not reprint it.
Right.
Although apparently they kind of are.
They are in a weird way. Yes.
With the new expansion, the Edifice.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. Yeah. And then Armada, I haven't used Armada yet.
Armada's great.
Yeah, no, I know. I have it, and I've just haven't ever really played it, because it's usually this is a game I throw down really quick with people that's played it, and we just kind of throw it out really fast and go. And I just haven't taken the time to get that out and add it to the fray. But this is one of those things that it's like you get that ability because you only really have to worry about the people to your left and right. And that's where you're buying. You can buy extra goods from them or borrow, or they can buy from you. There's this whole economy system. This one's just an outstanding game. And we talked about evergreen. I said evergreens earlier. This is probably another one of those. I mean, this one's, everybody has a copy of this somewhere,
Yeah.
And it's just,
I did end up getting because you didn't get the second edition, did you?
No, I just kept this one. That's
okay. Yeah, I did one because it's cleaner. Like I think it looks really good. And I think they actually did do a few small changes like balancing and stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to try that new expansion. I thought Babel was it was a little much, but I was like, I liked the idea behind it. Just kind of like having these global rules that everyone kind of has to follow. So
some of the modules were better than others.
Yeah, no, this one's fantastic.
All right, so that's my 37.
All right, my number 36. Where is that? There we go. It actually rose from 63. Rose 27 spots, and it was new last year. And I guarantee you it rose because I actually played it quite a bit last year. And also it got 2 new expansions, which I've tested both of them out, and the expansions are great. Let's see. Is it? Am I just missing it again? I think it is. I think it is currently my favorite Garphill game, and that is Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Man, yeah, I was like, I saw it and I was like, oh no, shit, I messed up again. Yeah, so Viscounts of the West Kingdom. I mean, honestly, like I think I talked about Paladins of the West Kingdom in the last segment. Like They're both so great, but I really like the kind of rondel system in this game and the way that the cards are utilized in this a little bit more. And the expansions were great for it also. So in this one, you're utilizing cards so whenever you are picking which one to play, you can't really see, yeah, you can on the top right. You have basically a river kind of your own cards that you're playing, and they have multi-use, like almost all of his games have multi-use cards. And whenever you're playing them in a very specific order, and they kind of move off and then they eventually fall off. And some of them have fall off abilities, some of them have abilities depending on where they're at on your board. But these cards are also giving you icons that you can use for various locations of this rondel. So you have really just the one worker. You have the horse that whenever you play a card, it's going to give you some movement on how far you can go. And there's like an inner section of this board that obviously you can move around faster, but in the inner section, you can either only get those, what are they called? I think manuscripts, maybe. That's what the little book looking things are, or you can contribute to that castle in the middle. And then the outer allows you to build buildings and gather cards. So tons of stuff you can do in this game. There's a cool kind of balancing system on how this game ends, is you have deed and debt cards, which are those black and red cards at the bottom. And whichever deck runs out first, that means that the other deck of those cards are going to be worth the most. So it's like if the debt cards run out first, and that means whoever has the most deed cards are going to get, I think it looks like 12 victory points, and vice versa. If the deed cards run out, then whoever has the most debts gets the most points. This has so much going on in it, but it's ultimately kind of like you have this tug of war system between your corruption and your, I don't know what the antithesis of that is, but kind of like how good and bad you want to act. That will be, consequences or rewards depending on which one is the furthest. Obviously deck building on, unique abilities you're going to want. There's a lot going on in here, but I mean, he just has this wonderful way of balancing his games out that if you've kind of played one, at least in the West Kingdom series, if you played one, then you're going to at least be familiar with some of the icons in his other games. I think Paladins and this one are the closest in terms of difficulty and weight, but because Architects, I think, is definitely his lighter of the three.
Right.
But yeah, like I don't think I had Wayfarers on here, but I can almost assuredly say that Wayfarers will be on my top 100 next year, just because I think it's equally as good as these other two. So yeah, and the expansions are awesome. They were in my top 5 expansions of 2022. I cheated and put both of them on because they both do really great things for various reasons, but the only thing you shouldn't do is play with both of them, because then you just get too OP and you can do whatever you want and the game never ends. But yeah, that's my number 36, Viscounts of the West Kingdom.
Yep, I will play this at some point.
It's on our list.
Yeah.
It's on our list.
All right, well, my number 36 is a game that you have not played yet. It's one that I think might be on the list that I was going to show you. It was new to my list last year at 60, so it's rose up to 36. I have a blast with this game. I haven't played it with the expansion yet, but I want to, because it gives diff player powers, at the beginning and stuff. There's different stuff like that with it, and a couple of different modules. But this one uses that damn dice mechanic and worker placement, and that is Lorenzo Il Magnifico. So this game, it was out for quite a while, and I never really touched it because it just didn't look interesting to me. Like if you look at the cover and stuff, and then I kind of got into this whole Euro phase over the last couple of years, so I ended up picking it up, and this one is interesting because you're playing a family, and you are everybody has there's three dice. There's an orange, a black, and a white dice, and everybody's going to have these tall circular, like I guess you call them meeples or pawns or whatever that they have, and they're going to have different color. Like if you look at these all have orange, like an orange dice on them, and then some have black, some have white. So at the beginning of the round, the first person rolls those dice, places them down here, and that's what the value of those family members are going to be for this game or this round.
Okay.
So you're going to play, if you place your orange marker out there, it's only going to be 2 strength unless you use different modifiers, because there are dice modifiers and different odds and ends you can do. And so that beginning round, it almost kind of has that Kingsburg deal in a way, where you have the dice are actually, the value that you're going to use.
Oh, yeah,
actions, but what you're going to do is they have these towers you're going to be placing your workers in. So there's different values that you have, like this one, has to at least be a 1. This one has to at least be a 3 to place there. And stuff like that. So, but you can only put one of your family members in each tower. And you're gaining cards that way that do different things. There's this whole set collection thing that you're doing. There's just a bunch of different options. You have a player board, and this picture doesn't really show your player board a whole lot. If you look up here, this is kind of your player board. And so you're going to be placing buildings on like these lands up here, and you can only go so far as how strong your military is. So you're wanting to kind of build your military up so that you can stretch your breadth of reign, your deal over and everything. There's a lot of options on this game, but this one is really, really fun. Like me playing it even 2 players, Amy and I had a blast with this and stuff. And I played it with 3 and had a bunch of fun with it as well.
You know what I've learned?
What's that?
I've learned the uglier the cover, the better the Euro.
Yeah, I mean, makes it Concordia is ugly as hell.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like they have such great design. I mean, it's so hard as we've been talking about through our top 100 to kind of talk up a Euro, because it's like I feel like I'm saying the exact same thing, but it's like, no, it's the experience. The mechanisms are so solid. Because they don't have to ham up the production value by being like, oh, make it look pretty. It's like, why? Our game's good. Quality.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, this is definitely one I'm intrigued by, because everything that you've told me about this makes it seem like I would like it.
Yeah, there's this whole prayer points thing you have to watch out for too, because
that's stupid. No.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to do it, and I don't see them on this board anywhere. No, but there's these things that you'll have. So like you try to gain these prayer points throughout the round, and at certain rounds of the game, you have to have this certain limit. And if you don't, then you get punished. Like there's a punishment that you get. These little tiles that'll be out there at the beginning of the game, and you, even if you're far enough on that track, it's this track right here. So you can choose just keep ignoring and not paying the church, and you will take those hits, the negatives. But at one point, when you choose to pay them, if you're further up that's victory points. You can just keep taking negatives and negatives if you want, but moving up that track, and all of a sudden, okay, I'll pay and gain like a shit ton of victory points. Kind of like a give and take and everything. There's a lot of
cool stuff church. Here's your tithe.
Yeah, exactly. So no, this is a real good one. I haven't dumped into the expansion at all. So like I said, it adds.
That's the orange box,
powers, huh?
That's the orange box.
It's like a maroon one. That's
okay.
It's called the.
I was kind of looking because I thought there were 2 versions of this game,
well,
but
the second edition of this game came out and it has the expansion in it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's probably what because
I think that's what we're seeing.
It'll say it has like the Renaissance expansion or something. I think it's called the Renaissance expansion. But
Houses of Renaissance. Yeah.
So that one has both of them in it. But it's I mean I can't speak higher about this game really. I mean this was one of my favorite that I've played this last year, just working up the list.
Okay. If you like this, I think you'll. I was looking at kind of our games that we need to play. I think you'll really like Carnegie.
Okay, good.
So, I mean, because at least Carnegie, like, the cover looks a little bit better
Yeah.
than this. It's just a guy on the box, but yeah, cool. Yeah, very excited to try this. All right, my number 35 fell a little bit. It was 23 last year, so it fell 12 spots, and it was 14 in 2020, and that's mainly because I just haven't played this game. But and I really need to, like, I need to just kind of look at games I haven't played in quite some time and get them to the table. But this is the deluxe master set, and just looks wonderful. I think I actually have the player mats for this. This is kind of the one of those games that has so much modularity to it, tons of variety, that each game is going to be different, but yet at its core is very simple to actually play. And that is Yido. This is the deluxe master set box. The other one kind of looks a little bit gaudy. But I did not realize this was by Board and Dice. It didn't start with T, so I
David
just
Tipsy solo mode.
yeah, which I haven't tried. I haven't tried the solo mode, and I haven't tried. There's a cooperative variant as well. I haven't tried that. Maybe they're one and the same. I don't know.
Yeah.
In Yido, the point of the game is to obviously have the most points, and you have a certain. It's a worker placement game. You have a certain number of workers that can go to various locations to gather either money or tokens or weapons, or basically things that you need to meet to fulfill various missions. And that's essentially how the game works. Like, there's 4 different types of missions: green, yellow, red, and black missions. And the reason I say there's a lot of variety to this game is because there's tons of different, I guess, themes for those missions. So it kind of has that Elysium setting that it's kind of like, okay, what kind of game do you want to play? Do you want to play like high point value? Do you want to play aggressive? Do you want to play this way or that way? Okay, then take these types of decks, shuffle them all together, and then put them out there. And they get increasingly more difficult to fulfill, but they're worth a lot more points. So whenever you're getting new missions, you can be like, oh, okay, I'll go with like a green one this time.
Right.
But one of the variants you can actually get, I think, is killing the. It's not the Emperor. It is I want to say the Shogun. Like, that's one of the black missions you can go on.
Right.
And it just completely ends the game if you fulfill that. But I think I've done it once, and oh no, I think I was going to, but I think Kat was going to end it first, and we were like, okay, let's just see what happens. Like, because I was like, I worked so hard to try and fulfill this. Cool. So yeah, the board is broken up into these different sections, and what's also cool is you have the guard moving around the board and kind of locking them down. And if you have in those spots, you get penalized for it. But also, him being there means you can't go there. And there's different events that cause him to move to a certain location, and that affects all players. This is kind of like, man, I actually completely forgot this was Board and Dice. Because it really doesn't feel like any of their other games. Like, you take all their T games and you're like, these are the same.
The original, because this is a new printing of it, because I had the original printing and I don't think it was Boards and Dice. I think they got licensed off of somebody else, because
Gotcha.
the original was from somebody different. I can't remember who.
Okay. Well, they did a fantastic job. This is a throw everything into the kitchen sink kind of game, but yet still being extremely clean. Like, I remember playing this the first time and I'm like my mind was blown at how extremely solid it was. And then with obviously there being the Kickstarter, you get like special player powers, you get more cards, more modules. There's a lot in the deluxe set. So yeah, if you want a kind of a unique worker placement game that's like, it's not cutthroat, but it's still kind of like, you have these different types of weapons, for example, that come out and you're like, okay, I need smoke bombs to complete this mission, and there's only one out there, and you're like, Oh man, please do it. Like, I need this to complete it, but it's great. This game is great. Everything about it is like rock solid.
Yeah, I need to try this new version because I really liked the original when I had
Hmm.
it because it was like I got it a long time ago because I had gotten Lords of Waterdeep and was playing through it and stuff, and everybody said, "Okay, next step from Lords of Waterdeep, get Yedo." So I got
Interesting.
Yedo, because I mean you're collecting stuff to go on missions. It's just a little more difficult.
Yeah.
You have a little more stuff to watch and maintain and stuff. So but then it didn't have that solo cooperative mode that this
Hmm.
does. So I may eventually end up having to get this one just because I really like the game. I just never could never play it. So that's why it didn't,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And this also has the like the luckily the deluxe set does have like an insert to organize everything
Mhm.
for it. It's not the best, but it it does the job well. And like I said, I think I have the because this picture is showing the player mats, which I believe I think I have. So that's nice. This is just a really nice deluxe set.
Yeah, I'll have to pick it
So
up at some point. All right. So my number 35 is a game that's been on my list since it came out. It was a top 10 game for me 4 years ago, and it's kind of slid down a little bit here and there. I'm hoping that the new expansion that went through Kickstarter will kind of rejuvenate it and get it to the table more since it's going to have like a campaign element to it. And that is
mm,
Vindication.
I was just thinking about this game too. I'm like, man,
Yeah,
I need to play that again.
yeah, it's going to be the that expansion stuff is supposed to be shipping here pretty quick. They so we
Yay.
should get it here within a month, I
Wonder
think.
what they're
So
gonna work on next.
don't no idea.
Yeah, they only
But,
have like 2 games in their catalog.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, this is just one of those. This is a game that it looks like it's a badass like Ameritrash actiony thing, but it's really just it's a Euro that you're
Hmm.
moving around on. The theme of it is you're some scum of the earth that's got cast off your spaceship onto this weird planet, and then you're spending the entire game kind of redeeming yourself and becoming vindicated to get to be a good person again. And as you're doing
Yeah,
that,
you're
you're
I was
yeah,
gonna say you're such a piece of shit that even pirates don't want you.
exactly.
They're like, God, dude, you suck.
Yeah, yeah, so you're just like you it has all this, there's the resource management, and you get these allies that join your cause, and it has all these square cards and everything that you collect. So it's got the unique cards, it's got the grids, you have a bag full of tiles as you're exploring the world out in the center, and so that kind of throws some randomness because each of those tiles there's an action that you can do on them. The interesting thing
Hmm.
is you're not traveling from tile to tile, you're traveling from the triangle in between tiles. So when
Yeah.
you move your little pawn there, you could be you're at any time you could be next to 3 different tiles to take different actions. So there is a little bit of blocking that you can do if you are,
Oh yeah. Oh, these
you
have
know,
the actual standees,
is that the
which are
coin, the metal coin or the standee?
no, the standees for your person. Because
Yeah.
I think the version I have, it's like a metal triangle. And
Yeah,
I'm
there's
like, this
different.
thing
Yeah.
sucks because it's kind of annoying. That's way better.
Well, and some of the metal like is too close together too, like the because we played it with the metal and it was like one of the some of them were like bronze and some was not quite as bronze and
Yeah.
you
Oh
know
yeah. Yeah. It's like, who am I? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, I think they just use with the colored base. I think so how they tell apart. But anyway, so you are doing all these different actions at different places around that hexagon board. There's places where you're going to put your influence and stuff on that could do different things at different times in the game. Your own personal board, like what is up here. What I like about it is almost has like a first person look because you have 2 hands out there, and you have these action cubes that you start off with, and you're trying to move them from one hand to the another to be able to use them. You get them into a certain place to be able to do certain actions. And then you actually will start putting those out on the board when you gain claim and stuff. So there's just so much stuff with this. I haven't even touched all the module expansions. I think we played with the animals
Yeah.
and
The
creatures that
pets.
come in, right? There's just a bunch of different stuff for this. The new expansion that's coming out, there's the Hamlet, and then there's the actual one that has like adds like a more story to it, which I thought's what this game needed was a little more story. So
Hmm.
so
Not
having
like,
having
yeah. Not
know,
like an adventure thing or anything. I think just giving you some rhyme or reason
yes,
for what you're doing. But
yeah.
I think they're adding like choices and stuff.
I
So
think so. I don't know a whole lot. I really haven't looked into it a whole lot. I just backed it as
I
soon as
haven't
it
either.
came out and
Yeah,
stuff.
same.
But this is just one of those really cool, unique games. Like once your player gets vindicated, they flip over. You can flip their card over from the wretched to the vindicated and stuff. And
Hmm.
another cool thing with this, well, this is a two sides of a coin on this, because what is cool about this is each character has their own games tray that has all their components in it. Awesome.
Hmm.
But they kept putting out expansions and having, this is with this company, you've talked about it with the other game that they do and stuff too, that they don't
Oh,
have a good storage for everything, like. And when they came out this last Kickstarter, because they had all these expansion Kickstarters prior to this last one, and there was no place to put the stuff. They had
right.
really cool insert, but no place to put expansion stuff. Now they've come out with this big box, which I hope. I haven't seen anything to see how everything fits in it for sure yet. But I'm kind of hoping that if they're going to do anything else with this game, they kept that in mind when they did this big box. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, because I think, yeah, I mentioned it with I was gonna say Undisputed, but that's the shitty show with one of the shittiest
yeah,
freaking people alive. Um Unsettled.
yeah,
Uh where it's like, man, you guys were so fucking close. And for this, it's like, man, this is a wonderful insert. Oh, you're doing an expansion?
well, the first expansion
Thanks.
that came out doesn't even fit, and it's not even that big of an
I
expansion.
know.
It's just like, you
I
know,
know. It's a tiny box, which makes it worse. Yeah, I know. I know. And they did those boxes are the same size as the planets for Unsettled. And it's
yeah,
like I was like, okay, maybe I just missed the bigger box, but nope. Like for Unsettled, it just houses 2 planets. I'm like, what? Like, just don't do it at all. If you're gonna like that's even worse somehow.
yeah, yeah.
But
So yeah, this
anyway,
one's a
yes.
classic, I think, too. It's unique enough to stay on this list. Like there hasn't been
Hmm.
other stuff really come out like it quite yet. So I think that's why it stays up here. Um,
Yeah, this was in my 70s, but it's still super good.
yeah.
Like this would be one if I probably did play it. Because what's also really neat is they have just enough cards and stuff that you're gonna have a different experience every time. Like you might
Mhm.
with a lot of games that come out now, it's like, oh, there aren't, 500 cards per deck. God, I'm gonna run out of things to do. It's like you don't like some of these are just allies, and you don't get a bunch.
No.
Like unless you're playing max players and that's like all you're doing, I guess. But I don't play this game max players, and even then, it's like if you're going out to hunt monsters, you're not seeing them all. It's there's a lot of content here.
Hmm. And I've
Uh,
never tried the solo or
I
like the
have
cooperative.
if not, I haven't tried the co-op. I've tried the solo. If I remember right, I don't think it was great,
Hmm.
but it's been quite some time.
Yeah.
Um, I think I know why. It's because in a multiplayer game, more tiles are coming out if you're trying to fulfill goals or objectives, so they're gonna be there.
Right.
But in a solo game, it's just you trying to be like, okay, I need to kill some monsters. Like,
Right.
where's the monster den? Yeah. So I don't know. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't bad,
Right.
but
Yep. Yep. So that's my number 35.
all right. My number 34. This is my new one to the list. And like, I don't know, this game just has so much like well, I was gonna say so much to it, but like it really doesn't. It's like a minimalist game, but yet the concept of it just blows me away at how well executed it is. It was a small Kickstarter, one that I was actually able to. I finally did one of those pledges where you can like incorporate something into the game. Usually
Hmm.
they're insane. It's like, okay, the core game is $60, but if you want to have a small NPC, it's 800. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
Right.
and this one wasn't all that bad, and still it's really nice, especially at this point in time, to have this game with the card I put in it, and that is Mantis Falls. So Mantis Falls says it's a cooperative game that's only really cooperative sometimes for 2 to 3 players. And I think I say it every single time I talk about this game, but I backed it purely as a concept. I'm like, oh, a trader game with 2 to 3. Okay, that's probably going to be bad. And every time I play it, I was like, this is really good. Like, and like I said, minimalist. Like, it's not gaudy in artwork. It has like this atmosphere to it with the art design they decided to go with it, and they also have made like a soundtrack that's on Spotify you can play with, which I highly recommend. It's really good. And the theme is that you're in the witness protection program trying to get out of town, and the people you're with, you hope, are also in that same witness protection program that you're trying to get out, but you don't know if someone traveling with you is actually an assassin that killed the person you were supposed to meet, and they're just trying to wait till the dead of night to just pop you in the back of the head and drop you off on the side in a ditch. And the reason why I think that this game is better than a lot of other trader games is the fact that because it's a smaller player count, it relies a lot more on the players utilizing nuance and trust and knowing when to lie and knowing what cards to hold, more so than a lot of other trader games like Shadows over Camelot or Unfathomable, where it's like, well, the game kind of masks a lot of that.
Right.
Shadows over Camelot, everyone has to do something bad. Dead of Winter, everyone has a secret objective. Unfathomable has the third-party deck for objectives, so it makes it easier on the trader to hide being a trader. And this game doesn't really have any of that. There's a lot of cards that basically let you look at players' hands or kind of make them do certain things, or like the only thing that you really can't do is ever look at their allegiance. That's pretty much it. But yeah, like this one is just extremely solid. I've had because there's other games where like the trader wins if they make it to the end of the road and there's no witnesses left alive. The witnesses win if all witnesses are at the end of the road card by the end of the game. So, and there's ways for you to go out like that call a hit card. Everyone starts with one. And if you go on a spot with a telephone, you can spend it and just call in someone to be killed. And so it's like if you just kill someone thinking that they're the traitor, you don't know until the end of the game. So it's like if it's me, you, and someone else playing, I could call and hit, kill you, and hope that you were the traitor until we get to the very end of the road and the third person was actually the traitor, and I just killed the other witness. So so you don't want to do that. There's ways to cancel those. There's ways to, like, you can get like an item that basically cuts the wires of phone lines, so call a hit cards can't be worked anymore. There's a lot, and it's just, I mean, I really can't talk this game up enough. And this is from a company that I feel like has made nothing except this.
I hadn't heard of the company. I mean,
yeah, Distant Rabbit Games. Yeah, I mean, this is their only game. So I mean, I'll keep an eye out on if they make anything else. I think this is a game that could just go for maybe, because they have a few expansions for it. I think they could probably add like 1 or 2 more, just kind of like maybe different roles or stuff. If the logical expansion would be to bump up the player count.
Yeah.
If they're just make an expansion. So it's kind of like, how in the Resistance or Deception Murder in Hong Kong, how you add additional roles if you have a lot more people.
Yes.
That would be the most logical expansion I think they could make for this, but which wouldn't be bad. Like, I think this game could work extremely well with a higher player count, but what makes it so high for me is the fact that it's for 2 to 3 players and both work.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so yeah, that's my 34, Mantis Falls.
I like the art of it. It's kind of neat.
It's, yeah, like it's I don't know. And when you listen to the soundtrack and play it, it's just like immediate, like, boom, you are in this. It's not like scary or anything, or like, but it's kind of like if you really allow yourself to get into the role and feel like the vibe of the music and get in the atmosphere, it's like, okay, this would actually kind of be disturbing if you're walking out of town and you're like, boy, I really hope this guy doesn't stab me in the neck.
Right, right.
So, I mean, I'd be jittery. I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna hedge my bets. I'm just gonna kill this guy. I don't
Yeah.
care if he's the other witness. I don't need him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's great.
All right. I'd like to try this one sometime, actually. Add it to the list if it's not already on the list.
It is not.
Yeah, add
And
it to
what's also really cool, is so it's primarily a two-player game.
Mm-hmm.
But for the third player, it's because a lot of these event cards deal with basically you and another person.
Right.
But so the third person is kind of like a bystander at times, but they have different actions they can do, and the bystander role rotates. So if
Gotcha.
it's me, you, and Cat, for example, it's like me and you are the main characters dealing with this. Okay, next round, now it's me and Cat, and then it goes you and Cat, and then it just kind of rotates. But there's certain cards that get added to where you can include the bystander to participate and stuff. Still works extremely well. It's not like one of those where the third person is kind of like, what the fuck do I do?
Right,
They're
right.
involved the entire game too. But because of that, just rule set leads it to be more a two-player game. But I've
Cool.
played both. They're both great.
Good deal. All right. So to continue with I guess this is the segment of 2011 games because I've had two games from 2011 already. This is my third one.
Dang.
It's a Fantasy Flight game. It's been on my list for, well, since we started, I think. It used to run like in the 20s and 30s, and last year it fell down to 77, and then I've played
Ooh.
I've played it more this year, so now it's back to 34, kind of where it is at normally. And this one is Elder Sign.
Gotcha.
This one
I forgot about this game.
yeah. The only reason I remember it, because like if I just had it in a normal box, I probably would overlook it. But I have that big Broken Token like museum box, so it's all just like this huge museum, and you open up the top of it, and it has everything in it, nicely sorted. But base game, just average at most, But when you start throwing in all the later, not the first two expansions, again, average. But once you start getting past that, where they started bringing in the story element and a lot more theme to it, is where it really opened up. This one is just uses that Yahtzee mechanic with dice allocations. So different cards are going to have different spots on them with different symbols. So when you roll your dice, you can place them on those to try to defeat those cards, whether it's two scrolls and a skull or whatever, so there's a timer to this game though, because if you don't get all the stuff accomplished and find enough of the elder signs before time runs out, then the ancient one comes out, and then you have to battle the ancient one, which is this whole, you're just going to get pretty much ran over if you do that. But it's just one of those, it's just a cool game. And the one thing I'm not pissed, that's the wrong word. This game, they didn't come out with any extra dice sets. How Fantasy Flight used to do that, like Mansion of the Madness, they buy extra dice sets or, different stuff like that. This is one of those games they never did. The only way you could get extra dice is if you bought another damn copy of the core box, and I never did. But this is one, that has the tarot cards. You pick in a different investigator. There's different abilities for the investigator and have different qualifications and different stuff with dice. And if you have all those expansions, it just adds a bunch more. I mean, it's an Arkham game. I mean, you're going to have all the general Arkham people for the most part, and there's all this equipment you'll pick up and different stuff that you can have that'll help you with your dice rolls or give you an extra dice here or re-rolls here, different stuff. And but like I said, those those expansions, like the Omens of Ice, or I can't remember the names of right now, but there's the one that takes place on the out in the ocean. There's the one that's in the desert. There's the one that's in the like the Arctic area and stuff like that. All these different places, and it brings in so much cooler, just more theme to it instead of just being in a museum like what the core box was.
Yeah.
And
So
this, yeah,
interesting correlation is those expansions you mentioned, the added story stuff. Those came out a year and a few years after Mansions of Madness second edition came out.
Yeah.
So I bet you that's why they started
probably
adding that into this game.
Yeah, but I mean, it worked. I mean, it's
Sure.
what saved this game for me. I mean, because it's kind of blah, just the base game in those first couple expansions, but those other ones that add that extra stuff, that's where it sings, is with that stuff. So yeah, I mean, Elder Sign is still hitting the table for me, and it'll always probably stay around here as long as it is.
Well,
Another
cool.
Richard Lonnius game.
Neat. Yeah, I've only ever played the base game, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah,
you sit here and roll dice.
Yeah, and you try it with the other stuff. It actually brings a lot more.
Sure.
More strategy and theme.
All right, my number 33 only fell a couple spots. It was 31 last year and 44 in 2020. So kind of going to stay around here because this game is just fantastic. Just came out with an expansion last year, which I really need to play this solo and do the story stuff for the channel, just because I think that would be a lot of fun. But this designer is one that I will just kind of follow and play every game that he makes, because I think all of the games that I've played of his are great, and this one's no exception, and that is
yes,
Maracaibo, which I think you've talked about already. It was kind of like way further back. So Alexander Pfister, like the games of his that I've played have just been great. Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
It was 64. Sorry, 64.
Okay. Yeah, so this is about where you play as kind of mercenaries out in, I want to say, the Caribbean, but you really just kind of have no allegiance to any of the three factions, although you can kind of work for them to try and gain control in their different strengths, because the further out on the track you are, the more of a victory point multiplier there is. So if you ally yourself with England, for example, and more of their cubes are out and you are further along that track, that's just going to be a bunch more victory points for you. This has a similar feel, at least board wise, to Great Western Trail, in that you have a ship that you're moving around the board, kind of rondel style, and as the game goes on, you're not going to be progressing as far, just because you're going to want to be doing a lot more stuff, fulfilling goals and objectives, orders to get victory points, to move along that expedition track at the bottom to get more rewards and victory points and stuff. This one, similar to like in Great Western Trail, how you put down buildings, which are like, oh, hey, only I can use this. This has that same idea in that you have unique cards that are kind of like workers, specialized people that are like, hey, if I go to space 13, I can use this action on this card that he allows me to do something.
Right.
This one has probably like one of the most multi-use cards that I've seen in a game. Like, it's hard to kind of think of a game where it's like, oh, this card can be used for either its victory points or this good on it or its special ability or whatever it is on it. Like, seeing the cards, you're like, oh man, that's a lot. And it is, but yeah, like, so it's way more card driven. Great Western Trail is just the cows. This is like and they can stack to where if you have certain builders, it's like, hey, doing this is now one cheaper. Well, you can get another one, now it's two cheaper. I think that's really cool also. And yeah, I mean, this one is just extremely clean. Like, everything is written on the board and the steps you take once someone makes it to like the very end spot, which on the board is space 20. Yeah, this is like your traditional Fister, and then the expansion just adds individual player powers and special
Mm.
goals and adds more to the campaign, which you don't really see a lot in Euro games.
Right.
Like there's never really campaigns, and in the expansion, you're kind of undoing the colonization of these factions,
Yeah, the
which is
uprising
neat
and
because
stuff.
you also never see that either. So tons of stuff to do in it. This is like Fister at his best, I think. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my number 33.
Yeah, this one's a good one. I need to get it played more. It would be higher up on my list.
Yeah,
This is not my highest Fister game, or I have a higher Fister game than this.
I do too. So
Yeah, so we'll see what
uh,
happens before we get up to that.
right,
But this is still great. I mean, it's just needs to get
so
played
good.
more. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I love the art.
and
Like it's so bright and nice, and
hmm
you know, just
yeah,
it's a good one.
tons of avenues to victory. It's just solid. I started the campaign a while back, but I think it might just be better if I do it solo. It's kind of like a legacy-esque. Like you don't put stickers or anything, but you have cardboard pieces
Yeah,
that you change the board up, which I think is really cool. So
for sure.
yeah, this one's great.
All right. Well, my number 33 was new to my list last year, and it debuted at 16.
Okay.
And now it's fallen down to 33, mainly just because I think it was really hot last year for me. It's been out for a couple of years, but like last year it really struck with me. I played it a ton last year. Um, and then it's just kind of fallen into this place because at this point in the list we have a bunch of really good games from this point on. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where these things
Yeah.
fall.
So basically, this game just sucks ass.
And this one is one that people love hating now. It's kind of the one people love to hate, and that is Wingspan.
Oh,
Um, this was one. It took me a long time. I was way late to the game on this one, getting it played, and I played it a couple of years ago for the first time, and I found out I'd been missing a gem. So this is it's just a crazy to think this was the first game that she designed and to be what it ended up being. It just having all the every card has a unique bird on it and all the attention to details as far as putting like all the details about the birds, and
hmm
stuff on them too. I mean, they could have just put pictures and a name and went with that, but they did all the details and stuff.
Yeah.
Um Using the solo part of it with the Automa Factory that Stonemaier likes to use with their stuff and having the game tray stuff, and there's just so many birds with this, and with the expansions throwing extra stuff out there. um I really like using the boards that came with the Oceania
Oh,
expansion.
yeah. The cardboard, like
Yeah,
fold out ones. Yeah.
yeah. And then I like having the wild uh what are they called?
Nectar.
Yeah, nectar and stuff like that. But just having the cool eggs. I mean, and I even have like the stupid little twig nests that you could have
Oh,
bought to put the eggs in and
cool.
stuff. I have two of those for when Amy and I
hmm
play it, and it's one of those games that just it's a chill game. You like
Yeah.
you have those games that you just kind of do your stuff. It's relaxing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You have all these neat birds that you can do different things with. You lay eggs. And then it even has the little bit of the drafting part where you're drafting the food from the dice tower and stuff. It's such an elegant design. And then just having all the crazy birds from all the expansions and everything. The weakest expansion to me is the last one.
Yeah. The Asia.
Yeah, I mean, it's just more cards, of course, but it's still, I don't know. I hope they're not going that direction with everything, but because there's something to say about the what was the first expansion? Shit, I can't remember.
No, Europe. Europe was
Europe.
the first
Yeah, just having a
expansion.
nice little box like that, just to throw some cards out. I mean, that's instead of trying to dilute too much with new ways to play and everything. It's just kind
Yeah.
of. But yeah, I mean, this is one that that'll settle in, and it's always probably going to be a top 100 game for me just because of
Yeah, I don't see this one falling out.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
every time I play it, it's like it's just that it's like you said, yeah, it's light, but it's not too light. Like you're involved the entire
Mhm.
time. Just trying to complete objectives and then you're done. And you're like, oh, that was nice. I learned a lot about
Yeah.
these cool birds. And
Yep.
some of them are absolute demons. You're like, oh, this bird right here impales its other birds on barbed wire. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
yeah.
like, like that bird's a demon. Yeah,
Yeah, so
really cool. This is a
yeah.
solid one. It was in like my 50s, I think.
Yeah, and this one, and it may settle into that part for me too. It's just like
Hmm.
it started off so high last year, and I think it's just kind of, it just depends on what comes out over the next year and how much it gets played.
Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome. Good choice. It's a good segment, I think. My number 32 fell a little bit. It was 24 last year, so it fell 6 spots. That's not how math works. If it was 24 last year, that would make it fell 8 spots. I'm just stupid. God, let's hope it's the right game. And in 2020, it was 41. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, it fell 8 spots. Um, you know what? I'm not even gonna describe the game. Just I need to see the cover.
All right.
Yep. All right. Cool. Yeah, it's War of the Ring, second edition. Uh, yeah. So I just mistyped. It fell 8 spots. Still not bad at all. This is the like ultimate Lord of the Rings experience. I absolutely love this game. I actually need to, and it fell just because I haven't played it, even though I really have been like there's a guy I want to play it with. Well, you and then there's another
I
person who wants to
I
play
was
it.
gonna say I tried to get you to get it to the table that
I
one time.
know, and I just didn't set it up. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I need to. I think I need to just have this set up because I did that with Reichbusters, and that
Yeah.
was like an ordeal. But yeah, this game is just so cool. Like both sides just play kind of asymmetrical, and win different ways. Well, there's two ways each side can win. The Free Peoples can win if they get the Frodo to Mount Doom and drop the ring in the middle. Uh, and I think they also have to have they have to have 4 points in strongholds. And the Shadow Army wins if they completely corrupt Frodo or if they get 10 points in strongholds because the major and so one of like two of those objectives for each side are kind of the same, just win in terms of battle. But the biggest difference here is that the Free People's armies are limited, kind of like the Stronghold board game by Portal. It's like when Free People units die, they're actually gone, and that's less people. Whereas the Shadow Army doesn't have a limit. This one just has like in a lot of games that like the Star Wars Rebellion, it's like, oh, what if this happened? I don't get the same feeling I get from this game where it's like everyone in the Fellowship is there, but you have a leader because they have like a certain value that makes them okay. They have the highest value out of this party, so they're the leader. So that's the special ability you get. But without a doubt, the Free People is probably like, or the Free People player is most likely going to have those guys leave. So then you just have this weird, like I've had it to where Merry and Pippin are in charge of what's going on, but eventually I have them leave to go and try and corral another group, and then it just kind of is Sam, Frodo, and Gollum. A lot of people don't like this game for the at war track, because you cannot use certain armies if they're not actively at war. And so it's like, oh, well, these people aren't doing anything. I just think it adds more to the theme. I think it's really easy to get them ready for war. Like the dwarves up at the top, like they're so far removed from battle that they're probably just like, yeah, I don't. Why would we be involved? That's not even touching our borders. But then you can send Gimli there, and one of his actions can cause them to be ready. He can rally them so that you can start moving the dwarves south. It's just so cool. The expansions they've added for it, I have. It adds way more unique people like Lord Elrond and Saruman and their special powers, and this does like the perfect example of how you use dice as actions. It's you roll them, those icons you have, that's the actions you can do. And it just works because there's a bunch of wilds and there's just everything about this game is great. And there's supposed to be another expansion coming out, but
I was going to ask you because I thought I'd heard something about it. But,
yeah, I think it's going on a couple of years that I've seen it. I think it's been on my
Yeah.
anticipated, but yeah, and there's a card game, but I've watched a few gameplays of that and I'm like, that looks bad. So I have it's like a team game and I'm like, no, it's meant for 4. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm just gonna stick with my way better dudes
Yeah.
on the map two-player game. So yeah, next time you come up, I will have this set up.
I was going to say, I'll play it eventually.
Yeah.
I owned it, but I never played it, like, because it was just too much. And I
It's a lot of setup. I almost bought that like collector's edition from someone that goes for like $2,000.
I keep tagging you every time I see one.
Every single time I'm like, dude, I'm not getting that. Yeah, I mean, if money wasn't a problem, I'd be like, sure, yeah, man, here you go. Like, I don't give a fuck. But no, because I remember the guy, I think he goes for like $2,000 or something.
Mhm.
And this dude was actually very nice. He was going to allow me to make payments for it. Like, cause I was like, hey, I mean, I'll buy it for me. I just don't have that much money sitting around to go on a game, but I'll make payments. He's like, okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I won't ship it until you finish paying it off. I'm like, makes sense. But then he
Yeah.
found someone local who dropped
Yeah.
it all at once. I'm like, oh yeah, I would do the same thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That guy was cool, but I don't know. If I was gonna drop $2,000 on the goddamn game, I would never play it.
I know.
I'd like, I would make a shadow box of it and be like, look at my art.
Yeah.
But yeah, next time, guaranteed. If by this time next year doing our top 100, if you still haven't played it, I will kill myself.
All right, noted.
I'll stream it.
You'll just see
But-
your feet hanging in front of the camera.
And then you're still doing the top 100. You're just like, yeah, as you can see, haven't played War of the Ring yet.
Oh, he's swinging a little harder here. He must be excited about this one.
That's so fucked up. All right. Yeah, so that's my 32 War of the Ring.
All right, my number 32 is my one new one to this list. This is a game that takes.
And it's Heat Pedal to the Metal.
No, I wish I still need to play that. Because I really want to play it. And I'm not overpaying for a copy of it.
I keep
It'll come out
seeing
eventually.
so many people asking for it, and I'm like,
I know.
I
know.
got a copy.
No, I really want it. So anyway, this one is a game that was built upon a foundation of a game that we both like. And we actually play tested a prototype of this and recorded it a long time ago, back when you lived in Clinton.
Oh, okay.
And this one could easily be higher on this list if I have played it more. I really haven't went through it a ton yet.
I have actually finished this game.
Really? So
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I need to get it definitely to the table more, just because it's a really neat setup and everything, and that's role player adventures.
One of the few series on my channel I have actually finished in a
Yeah.
reasonable time too, I think.
Yeah, and have you done the? I guess no, there's because the Kickstarter still hasn't delivered.
I did back the Kickstarter, yeah, which I was a little bit disappointed at what they like the next one that they did for it, but
Yeah.
we'll let you talk about this game first.
Yeah, but anyway, this one I love role player on its own, and then I heard, oh shit, they're gonna make a cooperative version where you can take your characters that you make in role player and take them on an adventure, and I'm like, well, sign me up. This was one that's been on my anticipated list. Back when we did it a few years ago, I had an anticipated list, and this was on before there was even art on the cover. I remember taking a picture, and but this one, and then we got to play the prototype and do some stuff.
That was like the alpha.
It was definitely early.
What's
But,
interesting about that though, real quick, is because then they sent me an actual prototype while they were on Kickstarter. And then now that the game's out, it didn't really change that much. So what we played was already solid.
Yeah, and I remember playing through it because it was very similar, playing that that mission stuff. But anyway, so you don't have to have role player to have this game. I mean, because it comes with pre-generated characters as well.
Quite a few as well.
Yeah, there's
God,
there's a ton. But I think it said there was like there's 36 pre-generated characters.
Okay, that's more than I thought. I was gonna say
Yeah.
like 20, but
Um,
although I will
yeah.
say you should, if you can,
Oh
make
yeah.
characters because
No, no,
it definitely gets way more invested.
oh yeah. I mean, that's how I do this. And I think that's why it takes me longer to get into this because I want to play through role player, build my character up
Hmm.
that way, and all that stuff. But it comes with, I think this has 11 books, I think, in reveal.
Yeah, including the finale. So I
Yeah,
think
so
there's 10 adventures and then the finale.
yeah, so there's like 11 storybooks in this deal that you work through, and you make the choices, and it's neat because they have that little map out there, and you move your marker around and you make the decision. You may want to go here to do this, and everything is, it doesn't show it on this deal, but like when you have an encounter, there's dice allocation,
Hmm.
colors and numbers that you have to place out to defeat the whatever gelatinous cube or whatever you come up across.
Yeah.
But I like the writing with this. It
Hmm.
just continues on with another game that I like, and it actually makes it to where I'm able to play it solo with a little more meat to it,
Yeah.
instead of just creating a character like in role player anyway. I don't think they're going to go back to role player at all. I think they just need to keep, if they're going to stick with that, just keep throwing adventures into this, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and which actually is a good segue. I was hoping that their Kickstarter would have been more adventures, but it seems like what the route that they took was like almost like a side quest
Really.
because it's like Golpax's secret, and I think Golpax is a character you meet in the game, and I don't know, it just wasn't the direction I was hoping. Doesn't mean it's not gonna be good or anything. I backed it immediately, but I was just kind of hoping that it's like it was gonna be another set of like 10 adventures or something.
Yeah.
Uh,
And maybe they're
but
just waiting to see, and maybe they're working on that slowly, and they wanted to just get something out there to keep the
yeah,
hype
yeah,
going.
maybe. I think do you have the Nephra's Judgment?
I do, and I haven't
Okay.
thrown it in yet. I need
Well,
to.
that's super easy to add in because
Yeah.
it just gives your character backstory
Right.
and like personalized objectives. I thought that was really neat too. Um, they've really just ran head first into D&D.
No, and that's
Like
fine. I just this company, like, they use this world, the Ulos world, and role player and this are really the only, in my mind, the only good things out of that world. because
yeah,
because
because they
the
have the
jail
Dawn
one,
of
the jail one was not good. That Dawn of Ulos I didn't back because it just didn't look
I didn't
good.
back it either. It just kind of looked like a light area control thing.
Yeah, and
Cartographers is great.
oh, I guess yeah, that is in that world, isn't it? Yeah, so never mind. I stand
Yeah.
corrected because I like cartographers too, but
Hmm.
but they, I think they just need to really focus in on just creating another strand of big adventures for this. I mean,
Yeah.
because they made a lot of money with this Kickstarter and
Yeah.
other stuff, and
Yeah.
it's a good one. I'm eager to jump back into the stories and keep moving with it.
Yeah, and for the way that the dice work, like my worry was that it was just going to be kind of like a roll and hope kind of game, but they give you so much mitigation. It's
Mm.
like, okay, here's your hand, your deck of cards. Okay, well, you can only play a certain number of these, but man, it's like, okay, we really need a lot of purple, and you can use those cubes to add to guarantee
Right.
you get colors. It's like I don't think I think we failed maybe like one. Like in the entire campaign, we failed like one encounter, but still, even though we succeeded on basically all of them, we had to play extremely well, and
Hmm.
so it wasn't like a given. But yeah, this game's really good.
That's what some of the complaints I've heard is that you got too overpowered and you wouldn't ever
You
lose.
do.
But
Someone commented on my discussion, and I think there's a either variant that is already made that you can play, or it was fan made and it's just a way to make the game a little bit more difficult. If I were to play this again, I probably would incorporate some of those difficulties because
right.
yeah, you get pretty OP. By the finale, it was kind of like, oh, who's the god we're fighting? Okay, let me just we win. Yeah.
Yeah, a
So
game like this though, I want to play for like the story and stuff too. A lot of it. So as
exactly.
long as the story keeps staying good, then I'll be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very good choice. Very good choice. Okay. And sticking to this kind of theme, somewhat a little bit, is my 31, which is one of the few that rose. It was 52 last year, so it rose 21 spots if my math is correct here. um Yes, that is how math works. And this is one we still need to do the rankings for because I believe I have played all of them now. And I think I'm either waiting on you to play them or maybe I haven't done all of them. But you just got a new character for me that I need to get,
Oh
and
yeah, that's the only one I
finally
haven't
looks
played.
okay.
Yeah.
That might be my only one. But yeah, we and then we have their final Kickstarter, which will be probably delivering shortly. And
Soon.
that is boom, Too Many Bones.
Yep.
Uh Too Many Bones is fantastic. This is actually one that I've sold and re-got. I've done that for all their games actually, except Burn Cycle. Like I sold Cloudspire, got it back again, then sold it. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm done. Too Many Bones I sold, and I was like, why did I do that? And then got it all back again, and uh, finally got the trove chest again and all that organized. But Too Many Bones is your it is an RPG, like without a doubt. It's not as narrative driven as a lot of other RPGs, but yeah, you do build up your characters. Each gear lock, which are the characters you play, are 100% unique and uh and play completely different. They have their own character sheet front and back on kind of special abilities and builds you can do with them. I think each character comes with like 4 primary builds. Like if you just want to get all your dice of this one particular color, that would be a build. You don't have to. You can go in any combination you want, depending on who you're with, which makes this game phenomenal. There's so much content for it, and and what's really cool about this is like originally if I were to see this game, I'd be like, oh, that combat kind of looks lame. You don't move or you don't do anything. But it's more of just the puzzle of
Right.
it
Mm-hmm.
than actually maneuvering and being like I mean, you are being like tactful, but it's like what abilities are you going to use? Who are you going to take out first? How are you going to circumnavigate this random assortment of enemies with their abilities to come out on top? And enough to eventually level up, get better dice, get better stats to then fight
That's the
baddie,
tyrant.
the tyrant at
Yeah.
the end.
Yep.
And these tyrants are no joke. Some of them are like each one I fought. It's really interesting because to test out these different gear locks so we can do our ranking, I fought the same one,
Yeah.
and some were really good against them, and others were just dog shit. And I'm like, and I played it purely solo, so I didn't have a second gear lock to mitigate it. So I was like, I had to keep that in mind because I'm like, maybe this one is just really, really bad by themselves,
Some
or
of
it
them
could
are
be really bad.
support. Some of them are good support.
Yeah,
Is what a lot of it is. You
yeah.
know.
So there's just this is a really unique world. It's really, really cool. I know they do have campaigns that are probably a little bit more story driven. Like that's like the orange playmat is like a map, so it probably actually has some progression in what you do. I haven't tried any of that. And then yeah, the coolest thing about this game is the fact of just the uniqueness and the depth of those gear locks.
Mm-hmm.
It's just super cool. And it's Chip Theory Games. Obviously, got to say their production value is through the roof. It's amazing. That trove chest is awesome. Like this game would never get touched if it didn't have that. Like if I had
Oh,
to,
yeah.
like that organization is just so cool. And yeah. So yeah, that's Too Many Bones. Rose because I played it a bunch.
This one might be on my list a little higher. We'll see.
Maybe.
All right. So talking about making that jump, my number 31 was 54. So it made a 23 spot jump. And it is one that again kind of has a shitty cover. You know, we talked about these Euros and the shitty covers with Lorenzo Magnifico and stuff. You were not a super big fan of this game. Because I showed it to you, and I think maybe some of the expansions might help with some mitigation and stuff that you had issues with. But anyway, this is from Queen Games, and that is Merlin.
Yeah, I seem to be in the minority on this one because a lot of people really like it. I didn't hate it. I just thought that there wasn't enough mitigation for me anyway.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
it at least has some, which is
Right.
better than not. But yeah, I think it was kind of because you needed those apples, right?
yeah. There's apples
were
that do rerolls
Yeah.
and it's different odds and ends. Because ultimately, what draws some people away from this game is it's kind of a roll and move. I mean, for one of the main segments of it, as you have all these dice, and when you draft these dice, that's what your pawn around that middle circle is going to move. If you take the white dice, then that's moving Merlin, and you're always moving clockwise. But Merlin, if you take the white dice, Merlin can move clockwise or counterclockwise. So to kind of mess with the stuff, but pretty much you're just gaining resources, doing different stuff. When you land in these different zones, you're trying to gain control of these different I can't remember what they call them now. These different areas, these little fiefdoms maybe is what they call them, but you're doing area control, trying to get more of your color in there. You're taking different actions with your pawns that do different things. Each pawn has its different ability, that something that they do. And so you are doing that stuff. You're working your way through. I like the dice drafting. That's always a neat thing, that you can choose from. You also have your own player board that you are adding stuff, because at the end of every round, like, your thing gets attacked, and like, so you need to have those things in certain spots that protects you from that, or you lose some stuff. If you get these flags, those are different abilities that you put on your board. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this game, and like I said, I don't have the expansions yet. There's
You don't have the big box or anything?
No, because I hate rebuying a game I already have, even though I want the big box wouldn't be bad, but since I already have the base game, I just don't want. It's hard for me because you have to sell them for as much and stuff. But they have like I think it's the Morgana expansion, and then there's another one that you get. They just add some different things, to the game, module things that you can add in. Oh, and also as you're doing stuff, there's also this board over here that you actually are putting buildings out in the land and stuff. So it's a separate track and stuff that you can do. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff with this game. It's nice and colorful. This one I get played actually quite a bit over the last year. And I've just fallen into this with these kind of games, Lorenzo El Magnifico, this one, there's a lot of these games that just kind of have that same aesthetic, that I've kind of gotten into over the last year or two. But yeah, I mean, this one's a good one. I really enjoy the whole rondel aspect of it and everything with your meeples and stuff. But ultimately, like I said, it's roll and move. You need to have that dice mitigation unless you're good with, able to plan ahead quite a bit.
Sure.
But
yeah. All right. Good deal. Well, that was it for this segment, everyone. A lot of good games talked about in this one. They get even better from here. So I hope you enjoyed. So stick around for the rest of the top 100. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.